Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. If you could please rise and join us for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Griscoviac.
Here.
Councilmember Butler.
Here.
Councilmember Novak.
Here.
Councilmember Geisler.
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here.
Mayor Cook.
Here. All right, why don't we adopt this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Geisler and a second by Carlson to adopt the agenda. Any discussions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the agenda is adopted. And immediately, we turn it over to Fire Chief Piper.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for allowing me time at tonight's meeting to acknowledge the promotions for 5 of our members to the rank of fire inspector and firefighter. These 5 gentlemen have prepared themselves and worked hard to get to this point. As fire chief, it's always been my goal to promote people within our organization who have a strong sense of community involvement and who represent the core values of our organization and mission statement. Our mission statement says that we are to provide efficient services designed to protect lives and property from the adverse effects of fires, medical emergencies, or exposure to dangerous conditions. We pursue this mission with determination and resolve, with emphasis on dedication, compassion, and constant improvement. All 5 of these individuals uphold our mission statement with the highest regard. Tonight, these 5 will be pinned with their new badges by their chosen family members, followed by taking the oath of office led by Mayor Cook. Ryan. First, I'd like to introduce the community to our new fire inspector, Ryan McAlpine. The fire inspector works under the fire marshal to ensure that apartments and businesses are safe within the community. Besides enforcing fire codes, they also educate the public about fire prevention and provide emergency response during their 24-hour shift. Ryan has been with Coon Rapids Fire for over 11 years, which includes 5 years full-time. Ryan and his wife Teresa have lived in Coon Rapids for 22 years. They have been married for 21 and have 3 kids, Summer at age 18, Dakota 15, and Kieran 11. Ryan spends his time volunteer coaching for many youth sports and has served on the Coon Rapids Park and Rec Commission for 18 years. In his spare time, he enjoys the outdoors, hunting, camping, and supporting his kids in their sporting events and school. Welcome to the Prevention Bureau, Inspector McAlpine. Please come forward to be pinned and take your oath of office. Ryan's wife, Teresa, will be doing the honors.
I, Ryan McAlpine, do solemnly swear
I, Ryan McAlpine, do solemnly swear
that I will support the policies and procedures
that I will support the policies and procedures
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
I will faithfully, honorably, and to the best of my ability
I will faithfully, honorably, and to the best of my ability
discharge the duties of a firefighter inspector
discharge the duties as a firefighter inspector
and protect the safety and lives
and protect the safety and lives
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
as my fellow firefighters and citizens
whose care has been entrusted to me.
whose care has been entrusted to me.
Yep.
Okay, Brian Dargis has served as a paid-on-call with our city since 2016 and lives in Coon Rapids with his wife Olivia and sons Maverick and Talbot. Brian has been an active member of our department by serving on our Community Fund Board for over 4 years and being one of our CPR instructors. Brian's grandfather, Paul Talbot, was a founding member of this department. All right, good.
That was deserved.
That was deserved, absolutely. Okay, he was a founding member of this department, which helped inspire Brian's career path. Welcome to the Department Firefighter Dargis. Please come forward to be pinned and take your oath of office. Brian's mother, Paula, will be doing the honors.
All right, raise your right hand. We'll try to do it. I'll break it into small little things like I did for Ryan. Oh, except, yeah, this is you. I, Brian Dargis, do solemnly swear
I, Brian Dargis, solemnly do swear
that I will support the policies and procedures
that I will support the policies and procedures
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department,
I will faithfully, honorably,
faithfully, honorably,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties of a firefighter
discharge the duties of firefighter
and protect the safety and lives
and protect the safety and lives
of my fellow firefighters
of my fellow firefighters
and citizens
and citizens
whose care has been entrusted to me.
whose care has been entrusted to me.
Congratulations, sir.
All right, Chief.
Okay, next, Tony. Tony Fontaine joined our department after serving the citizens of Oak Grove. He lives in Oak Grove with his wife Leah and children Isaac, Ezra, Miriam, and Naomi. Leah grew up here in Coon Rapids, so working for our city is personal by helping to protect many friends and family that are nearby. Tony is a member of the North Metro Specialized Rescue Team and has spent several hours mentoring fire explorers from Rum River Fire Post, in which his son is part of. Tony enjoys traveling with his family in his off time and being on the rink with a house of hockey players. Tony himself has been a hockey official for over 20 years. Welcome to the department, Firefighter Fontaine. Please come forward to be pinned and take your oath of office. Tony's wife Leah will be doing the honors.
What was the first name? It didn't sound like the chief got that right.
Isaac.
Isaac, okay, I just wanted to make
Sorry.
sure we got him acknowledged. All right, right hand, and I, Tony Fontaine, do solemnly swear
I, Tony Fontaine, do solemnly swear
that I will support the policies and procedures
I will support the policies and procedures
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
I will faithfully, honorably,
I will faithfully and honorably,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties of a firefighter
discharge the duties of a firefighter
and protect the safety and lives
and protect the safety and lives
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
whose care has been entrusted to me.
whose care has been entrusted to me.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You're bringing in a bigger, that was versus Hoses next year, huh? Yeah. Congratulations, sir.
All right.
Next, Tom Lyon joined our department after serving the citizens of Ramsey for the last 10 years. He is a dad to 3 kids, Taylor 19, Jackson 12, and Mia 10. Tom and his family still live in Ramsey, and Tom enjoys coaching sports, hockey, football, and baseball, walking his dogs, Raven and River, and hunting and fishing in his spare time. Welcome to the department, Firefighter Lyon. Please come forward to be pinned and take your oath of office. Tom's youngest daughter, Mia, will be doing the honors.
All right.
Got it. Yep.
I, Tom Lyon, do solemnly swear
I, Tom Lyon, do solemnly swear
that I will support the policies and procedures
that I'll support the policies and procedures
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
I will faithfully, honorably, and to the best of my ability
I will faithfully, honorably, and to the best of my ability
discharge the duties of a firefighter
discharge the duties of a firefighter
and protect the safety and lives
and protect the safety and lives
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
whose care has been entrusted to me.
whose care has been entrusted to me.
All right, looks like we're on the home stretch here, Chief.
One to go. Jacob Knivesland. Jacob joined our department after serving the citizens of Andover for the last 3 years. He grew up in Andover but attended Coon Rapids schools, remembering his favorite part of the year was Fire Prevention Week with the dancing fire inspectors. and Freddie the fire dog. His grandfather, Doug Bach, says, Doug, you want to stand up just a second? The second person inspired by a grandfather, right? Right there. Doug was on the department from mid-'70s? 73, so thanks for showing up here tonight, Doug. Yeah, Doug was a paid-on-call firefighter with us from 73 to 1990. This helped Jacob mold his career path. So in 2017, Jacob joined our Fire Explorer post and is our first Coon Rapids Fire Department Fire Explorer to be hired full-time. With that, welcome to the department, Firefighter Knivesland. Please come forward to be pinned and take your oath of office. Jacob's mother, Leanna, will be doing the honors.
Feel good? All right. I, Jacob Knivesland, wait a minute, Knivesland?
Yes.
I think our S and our L are backwards on this. Is that spelled right?
The S and the V are backwards, but.
Yeah. I was kind of practicing on what. All right. I, Jacob Knivesland, do solemnly swear
I, Jacob Hadley, do solemnly swear
that I will support the policies and procedures
that I will support the policies and procedures
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
of the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
I will faithfully, honorably, and to the best of my ability
I will faithfully, honorably, and to the best of my ability
discharge the duties of a firefighter
discharge the duties of a firefighter
and protect the safety and lives
and protect the safety and lives
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
of my fellow firefighters and citizens
whose care has been entrusted to me.
whose care has been entrusted to me.
Welcome. Chief?
Okay, in conclusion, I appreciate this opportunity to recognize these 5 men, as well as their accomplishments and dedication to this organization and community. This concludes our promotional ceremony. Friends and family are invited to meet out in the hall for some photo opportunities, but you're always welcome to stay for the entire council meeting if you so desire. With that said, thank you for coming and for your show of support. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I think I went to high school with him. Just like a ball game.
All right. Next on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the February 2nd meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Butler?
I move that we approve the minutes from the February 2nd, 2026 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Butler and a second by Novak. Is there any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And
Abstain.
those minutes are approved. One abstention, Councilmember Griscoviac. All right. I have 2 items on the consent agenda. The first one is to receive the schedule of electronic payments. Staff has prepared the attached list of electronic payments processed since the last council meeting. So we're looking to receive the schedule of electronic payments from January 28th, 2026 through February 11th, 2026. And the second and final item on the consent agenda is to approve an interagency agreement with Metropolitan Council related to Project 18-14. The city supports initiatives to complete connections and expand capacity along Trunk Highway 610, including a full access interchange at East River Road. As part of the fully funded project, staff has coordinated with several partner agencies to prepare plans and specifications for the roadway improvements, including the Met Council's Park and Ride facility located on Foley Boulevard. City staff and consultants have completed traffic studies and analysis that demonstrate removal of the bus-only access ramp at the Park and Ride facility is necessary to complete the project and will not adversely affect operations, safety, and traffic flow for the site, and flow for the site. The interagency agreement allows the city and its contractors temporary right of entry onto the property to complete work identified in the attached exhibits. Access rights to 9425 Foley Boulevard will commence upon signing of the agreement and expire with project completion. So we're looking to approve the interagency agreement with the Metropolitan Council relating to Project 18-14 and authorize appropriate staff to execute such agreement. And that is our complete consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Butler?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Butler and a second by Geisler. Is there any discussion or corrections or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Geisler?
one quick question, since I see Mr. Hanson here. Met Council's amenable to all of this, and I'm assuming with all the time we've put into this, they're well aware of what's going to happen.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Geisler. We've been working with them for several years on this project, and this agreement has been a long time coming. A lot of work went into coordinating everything with them and making sure that the project doesn't affect the operations of the transit station.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else on this one? Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the consent agenda is adopted. Next, we're going to hold a public hearing and consider Resolution 26-1 6A ordering project and 26-1 Sub 8 approving plans and specifications and authorize bids. Mr. Hanson?
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
I don't
So
think
I have
that's
a
included in it.
presentation prior to working through the public hearing. I'm going to do a presentation here just to remind council and the public what the project is all about. So we are here to talk about 2026 street reconstruction. So a little bit of background. The streets that were proposed are being proposed for reconstruction have been rated in past surveys as deficient or in poor condition. The engineering staff that come up with the plan for reconstruction, we work very closely with our Public Works Department, and we look at where our Public Works crews are spending the most time maintaining streets and where they're patching the potholes. Staff talked to council first about this project in July 15 in a work session format. We reviewed the 2026 street reconstruction program. So the first group of streets that are proposed for reconstruction this year include a few different street segments that are south of 610 and west of East River Road. Those are 89th Avenue, 86th and 87th Lane, and then a short cul-de-sac that is east of Mississippi Boulevard, that is 85th Avenue. The scope of the work that we're talking about here is to replace the asphalt and all of the damaged concrete curb and gutter. We would be replacing the storm sewer catch basins as needed based on inspections that we have done in the field. And then replacing the water main pipes on 86th Lane, 87th Lane, and 89th Avenue. We'll also be replacing the sewer manhole castings throughout, and then upgrading city-owned LED or streetlights to LED standards on 85th Avenue. Also proposing as part of this portion of the project to build a water main loop connection to the neighborhood that is west of East River Road. There is only one water main connection into this entire neighborhood. That includes the school. We would like to have two. So as part of the project, we're proposing to construct a connection that is via directional drilling methods from 90th Avenue cul-de-sac across the school district property over to Sycamore Street. The other portion of the project is within the Northdale additions, and then this is going to be between Kumquat Street and Foley Boulevard, Egret Boulevard on the south up to Northdale Boulevard on the north. So all of the streets in between. Again, we'd be replacing all the asphalt, all of the concrete curb and gutters in this neighborhood will get replaced because we are going to be replacing all of the water mains and water main services within this neighborhood. We will be replacing storm sewer catch basins as needing, extending storm sewer pipes on Kumquat Street, replacing the water main pipes and all of the related appurtenances that go along with the water main system, replacing sewer manhole castings. And then we are also looking at new sidewalks on the north side of 110th Avenue between Kumquat Street and Foley Boulevard, and then the west side of Kumquat Street between 109th Avenue and Northdale Boulevard. And then lastly, we are looking at a stormwater quality basin to help with stormwater management within Moore Park. We have an area of Moore Park that's been difficult for our parks crews to maintain over the years. It's kind of wet, peaty type of soil. So we're working with the watershed district to develop a plan for a pond to help with the stormwater quality treatment. Project schedule is, in January, we had a second open house for the project where we talked to property owners, heard their concerns. Tonight, we are here to hold the public hearing and the assessment hearing, and then approve the plans and specs, order the ad for bids. If the project moves forward, staff would be working through the bidding process to obtain a contractor in April, and then coming back to council in April, latter part of April, to request award of a contract and adoption of the assessments at the first meeting in May this spring. In addition, we will hold a meeting as staff once we have a contractor on board in Moore Park for the residents to talk to us. We'll have schedules at that time. We'll be able to talk directly to the contractor about our approach and our schedule for the work. And then construction will proceed between May and October. Before any of the work starts, we'll get letters out with all the contact information, frequently asked questions that we hear on these types of projects. We'll have weekly updates that will come out every Friday. Residents that are impacted by the project can sign up for that on our website. And then we also have an option to sign up for text updates. Typically, those are things that come up with a moment's notice where we don't have much time to send out flyers or mailings if something's going to happen, or if it's a late water turn on or something like that. Estimated project costs are spread over a number of funds, including assessments. This is a very high-level cost. It includes all of the engineering, the construction materials testing, surveying costs, $13.7 million. We expect that we'll get better prices through the bid season as we get our projects out for bid. So why does the city assess? A lot of people ask that question. And the property taxes that residents are already paying typically pay for about 50% of the street surfacing costs. However, the reality is it's really more like a 70-30 split, and the 70% of the costs are being paid by the city, and then special assessments cover the balance. Special assessments allow the city to raise money without increasing the overall general property taxes or the city debt. Any bonding that is done as part of the street reconstruction project financing requires a portion of the project to be assessed. Special assessments apply to all properties that impact the road but are exempt from taxation. So schools and churches, other properties that don't pay property taxes are included within the special assessment boundary. And then we are not assessing for any of the sewer, water, or the drainage repairs that we're doing as part of the project. Those are all paid with the utility enterprise funds and the utility billings that people have been paying over many years. No additional assessments are taking place for properties where sidewalks are proposed on this. We've had that question come up from a few property owners, whether they're getting an additional assessment if there's a sidewalk proposed in front of their property. That's not the case. All the single-family properties on this project are paying the same amount. The assessment rates that are proposed this year, 2026 rates, single-family residential properties, $2,755. Duplex and townhome properties are assessed at a different rate based on the front footage, where their access is oriented to the street that is being improved. Those are at $36 per front foot. Commercial property is $69 per front foot, and then industrial properties at $87 a front foot. I would note, again, all single-family properties pay the same rate. Some cities charge more for corner lots, but Coon Rapids, we do not. All single-family, same amount. A few different options are available for property owners to pay their assessment. They can pay the entire assessment amount after, presumably the council adopts it on May 5th, their first meeting in May. Between May 6th and June 5th, they would be able to pay with no interest charged. It does start to accrue interest over time, the assessment. That's really to offset our bonding costs that we incur when we do these projects. After June 6th and up until November 15th, residents can pay the assessment plus any accrued interest up to that date. Or they could do nothing and then the assessment will roll on and start being collected with their property taxes in 2027. If one were to choose to do that, it would accrue interest and it would amount to about $365 for the typical single-family home that they would pay off every year till 10 years till the assessment runs its course. So what other cities are assessing nearby us? Once again, Coon Rapids is near the low end of the spectrum in terms of what other cities are assessing. Some cities are assessing for simply reclaiming a road and repaving it, about the same as we are for what we do is a full reconstruction project and increasing the pavement thickness with the work that we're doing. Some notification forms that property owners will see as the project starts. The one on the right is to notify about critical events that are coming up, like if a person has to park on the street for a certain period of time because the curb or the driveway, a concrete driveway work, repair work at the end of their driveway needs time to cure. We will hand out notices such as the one on the right. And then for any temporary water shutoffs that happen, a pink tag will appear on the front door. These will be delivered to the front door of a property. If you normally use the garage door to come in, make sure that you're checking the front door throughout the project so that you don't miss any notifications. We do have street reconstruction videos that are available to the public to view. One talks about the step from start to finish, all of the different steps, and then one is more focused on a lot of the frequently asked questions that we get. We did have one written objection that was submitted to city staff and the city clerk prior to tonight, and that was from the property owner at 426 111th Lane. I provided copies of the email that was sent to staff to all the council members. So I will turn it back to you, Mayor and Council, if there's any questions and to hold the public hearing.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Novak?
Strangely enough, a lot of the questions I get about this kind of thing to have nothing to do with assessments, which I know is kind of weird. But I do get a lot of questions as to how we choose which roads we're going to have done. And unfortunately, many of the questions I get are, why aren't we fixing Coon Rapids Boulevard and Hanson? Because those go right through Ward 5. And I have to explain to them, Coon Rapids Boulevard and Hanson are county roads. Coon Rapids can't fix those. If you want them fixed, contact the county.
I would note, Councilmember Novak, the county is planning to fix Hanson Boulevard from just south of Main Street to the Andover, into the city of Andover this year. So most of the other segments have actually been repaved more recently.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that on the record.
But otherwise, as far as picking the streets, you physically drive a
Yeah,
lot of
we
the
go
streets
out,
and
we-
rate them
yeah.
every year, right?
Yeah, we live this stuff every day. This is what we do. When we go home at night, we're looking at the street pavement conditions and thinking about them. No, but we talk to our public works staff quite a bit, and we not just our own inspections, but we also talk to them about where they're spending time doing maintenance. The particular streets that we're proposing in 2026 have been on our list for some time. In fact, I used to get questions about some of the streets we did in the western or northern part of the city, streets that were constructed initially before this group. Why are we doing those before? And the answer was because when we got here, we knew we were gonna have to replace the water main. So in order to save up the funds, keeping the levy at a reasonable amount, we had to wait a few years. So now we're here and we need to move forward on the particular ones here that we're proposing.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Hanson? If there's no questions for Mr. Hanson, we'll open up the public hearing. If anybody is here to address council for the project 26-16A or project 26-1 sub 8 for the reconstruction of the streets. Anybody here to address council? Yes, sir. Come on up. Yes, sir.
I would also remind that this is your last opportunity to object to any assessments through this public hearing. So if you want to object to your assessment, now's your chance to. We've received that one, but I just wanted to remind folks that they have up
Okay, yeah.
until the end of the assessment hearing.
Yeah, because thank you for that clarification. We'll open the public hearing and the assessment hearing, so this is the last time to speak about it.
Great.
Yes, sir.
My name is Herb Damer. I live at 11050 Kumquat Street, Northwest. I walked today from Northdale Boulevard to 108th Street. I counted, besides the ones that were marked because they're diseased, 16 trees that would have to come down on the right-of-way to make room for the sidewalk that's proposed as part of this project. The project itself is really needed. I mean, especially the storm sewer upgrade and stuff like that, and new water main. My problem is with the sidewalk is that if you, my driveway is very steep. So if you think of a right triangle and the driveway being the hypotenuse, 13 feet of that incline is going to be taken out and have to be made up in, well, 13 less feet, which makes the driveway even steeper and more difficult, not only in the wintertime, but a vehicle with a short wheelbase, unless the pavement is improved from that inside part of the sidewalk all the way to the garage slab, a vehicle could bottom out if it had a shorter wheelbase than my truck. I don't think I have a problem with my truck. On my walk today, I also found 5 homes on Kumquat where their corner lots, and Kumquat is a side street. Their garage is on that side street, Kumquat, and their driveways are very short, very short. If you take 12 to 13 feet out of that, and their vehicle was parked on their driveway just inches from their garage door, a third to a quarter of their vehicle would be on the sidewalk. And the steepness of the grade on 10 other houses I noticed would be a difficult climb. And for that reason, I think the project is going to be good, but I don't think the sidewalk is viable.
Did you get a chance to talk to the engineer about, Mr. Hanson, about, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We've talked before.
Oh, okay, just wanted to make sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else here to address council for the public hearing and assessment hearing for the street reconstructions? We'll ask one more time. Anybody else here for the public hearing and assessment hearing for the street reconstructions projects 26-1 6A and 26-1 sub 8? Okay, then we will close the public hearing and the assessment hearing. Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Yeah, we've discussed this in a number of workshops, and I've had a couple conversations with Mr. Hanson as well. Just so everybody's aware, I'm going to be paying that $2,795 as well. I'm over on 113th. But that being said, I understand where there might be a use for the Kumquat sidewalk. To honestly, the gentleman that spoke tonight is the first one that I've heard from anybody on Kumquat that was opposed to it. I've got a number of my constituents sitting out there in the gallery that do not want the sidewalk on 110. I still have not heard a good answer as to why we need that sidewalk. From what everything I looked at and read, etc., I understand wanting to have access to Moore Park or access out into the city from Moore Park. If you had that Kumquat sidewalk put in, you'd have Kumquat, you'd have Magnolia, you'd have 113th, you'd have 109th, and they all go the distance whichever way you want. Why in the middle of all these shorter streets we're putting a sidewalk in there when the people don't want it there? I think it's a misuse of taxpayer money to be putting that thing in there when they don't want it. And I also believe that if we put the Kumquat sidewalk in, we'd have everything we needed for access in and out of Moore Park. So that's my thoughts on the matter.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Novak?
Councilmember Armstrong and I have a little bit of experience with sidewalks. We were on the Safety Commission together, which we jokingly called the Sidewalk Commission. I have to agree with that one. And Mr. Hanson, I am curious, what was the overarching result of the conversation that you had regarding that kumquat sidewalk and the amount of room that's going to be taking up in people's rooms, in people's yards?
Yeah, so we've heard a lot of concerns about what could happen to the steepness of the driveways with the proposed sidewalk. And one of the opportunities that this project provides is that we are taking out all of the curb and gutter. And the driveway slopes are hinged upon the elevation of the curb and gutter. So when we're taking it all out, we have the opportunity to raise it or lower it to help address the sidewalk grades, the concern about making them steeper. Our target is to make it the same or better in terms of steepness than it is today. So in order to do that, we will likely, and we are looking at raising up the curb grades that go back in, as well as increasing the amount of distance we have to go back from where the sidewalk is to help address that. So, yes, we've heard from a few different residents about that, and we've worked through those concerns before and arrived at acceptable results.
Brief follow-up, Your Honor. I presume that like a retaining wall has been discussed for people's yards if they are that steep?
We don't think that's going to be required.
Okay.
So we would propose to do additional grading where needed first.
Okay, so I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the neighborhood. So, yeah, again, if it's not required, awesome, but I presume you'd be working with each individual homeowner?
Yes, it
Okay.
would be a lot of work directly with the residents that are affected. Yep.
Excellent.
Mr. Hanson, I heard like 16 additional trees or something mentioned tonight. I remember our forester, and you've looked out there for how many trees would have to come out just to do the construction itself.
Yeah.
Is that about the right number of additional trees, 16 for the sidewalk, or?
Well, that sounds about right. Could be more like 2 to 3 dozen, I think is what we initially contemplated. But because we are replacing the water main, that also involves replacement of the water service.
Sure.
And that means we're going into people's yards and driveways just with that effort alone. And a lot of the water service shutoffs where we have to go to. So we're about 14, 15 feet into people's yards to replace the water service shutoff valve. A lot of those unfortunately wound up next to what are now mature trees. A lot of them are ash trees and will need to come out anyway. We're more than happy to work with the residents that are concerned about tree impacts. We can provide new trees if they are interested, planted in a proper location, far away from the sewer and water services that are there. But so certainly we recognize the concern about the tree removals.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Yeah, I'm glad that Councilman Novak mentioned he wasn't familiar with the neighborhood, because that brought to mind something else. I've lived in that neighborhood my entire life. You don't need to, I've got white hair, I got the white beard, you know I've been around a long, long time. But that being said, the entire time I've lived in that neighborhood, if you watch people going wherever they're going, they go up and down Magnolia, they go up and down Kumquat, they go up and down Foley. If they want to go east-west, yeah, they use 109th and they used 113th. You do not see people cutting through those side streets to get anywhere unless they live there. We're taking what is a quiet neighborhood, a peaceful neighborhood, and you're sticking a sidewalk in there, again, that I don't think is necessary. I don't think we need to spend the money on it. But at the same token, it's just another situation where we're looking at we're looking at something that we want to solve a problem for, that a problem isn't there. I mean, yeah, would it be nice to be able to go out the back section of Moore Park there and down 110th to get to Foley? Sounds like a good idea, but it doesn't get used. That you've got a street there right now that people don't walk up and down, and to put a sidewalk in there and be interrupting these people's neighborhood and whatever else, because it sounds good, does not make sense to me.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I feel that Council Member Armstrong is making some good points there with the sidewalk on 110th. Sidewalks in general, you know, if we're going to put them in, we should be putting them in when the development's made, because putting them in afterward is really a disruptor. So I'd be looking at that. I do think we should have a sidewalk on Kumquat because it's safer for residents in that area. But my question on the sidewalk on Kumquat then would be, if we're going to put the sidewalk in there, are we shrinking up any driveways to the point where they won't meet our minimum requirements for LDR3? LDR2, excuse me. 3 is the new one.
Well, I'm looking at our planner, and he's shaking his head. And we're not adjusting any of the property lines. We're working entirely within the public space that's already there. So the right-of-way is 60 feet wide. The road is 31 feet to the back of the curb, to the other back of the curb, so that leaves about 14 and a half feet of public right-of-way space.
But my question was more, is there still going to be a minimum length of driveway to meet LDR2 requirements? Because you put a sidewalk in there, now that sidewalk becomes right away. You can't park on that sidewalk legally.
Yeah, it does compel a inconvenience where you can't park on the driveway, or the sidewalk portion, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I may speak to the LDR2 question. The LDR2 district doesn't have specifically a driveway length requirement. Instead, it relies on the setback of the home from the property line. So the 35-foot setback requirement of the home from the property line constitutes 35 feet of driveway that are on the property. The sidewalk would, I'm pretty sure, be on the public side of that line. So the 35-foot driveway length would still be in place even with the sidewalk there.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Hanson? Mr. Mayor? Councilmember Carlson?
So, Mr. Hanson, so we have sidewalk 109th, sidewalk 113th. I'm trying to pull it up on the map here real quick, but maybe you could just refresh my memory, Mr. Hanson, on why 109th and 110th? Seems like 110th is that's the neighborhood where most people are concerned. Why both?
Yep. So we thought that 110th provided a good connection between Foley and Moore Park for people that might want to get from one roadway that would have a lot of pedestrian traffic on Foley, on the sidewalks that are there, over to using Moore Park. Yep.
On my drive here this evening, coming up Direct River Drive, no streetlights, dark, somebody wearing dark clothes, walking with the traffic on the right side, and it was just, and I went around him at the last minute, and I went, I wonder if that was my sign that we need a sidewalk. But I don't know, I'm kind of a fan of sidewalks, but.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Just to clarify, and if I'm being redundant, I apologize, but just to clarify, the roads need to be done. The streets, the curbs, the sewer, et cetera, they need to be done, yes. I agree with all of that. As I stated earlier, I hadn't heard anything from anybody on Kumquat until tonight, so I assumed, whether I should or not, that Kumquat was something that they were all for. So I agree that needs to be done. I agree that it should have been done a long time ago. My only qualm is with 110th.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
with that, could we make a motion? We need to get this thing going. I mean, for Pete's sake, the neighborhood's been waiting 10 years,
Yeah.
I think, for this. Could we entertain a motion with removal of item 11, 110th Avenue from Kumquat Street to Foley Boulevard? Is that something that we can do to get this moving?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
Councilmember Carlson, I think we would need to be careful of that because that would remove the entire street from the project, which we would not want. I think that would be an unintended consequence. I guess maybe my question would be to Mr. Hanson of, even if we spec this out as written, we could still decide to not go forward with the sidewalk at a later date. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, even if we award a contract, we wouldn't we would be able to eliminate that work from the contract through a change order if the council desired. The next step would be when we award the contract, see what the bid prices come in at, and you can make another determination then. You may want to defer to the city manager and city attorney about the best way, if you desire now, to remove one of the sidewalk segments from the project while keeping everything else moving forward.
Mr. Stemler?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I was just going to make the comment that at minimum, you would want to make a decision at the time you're awarding the contract. So there is a little bit of time if you want to further investigate. Perhaps you may want to identify the sidewalks that are of the most concern, and then we can have some of those conversations, what that might look like from a bidding standpoint if some of those are removed. Because it could make a difference in terms of pricing. If, you know, we bid it as one thing and then take a bunch of work out of the project, that could be somewhat problematic. But I think just for clarity around what's going to get built and when, we'd want to know by the time we award those contracts. So just to keep that in mind.
So, Mr. Hanson, when you put this out for bids, you could actually list the sidewalk along 110th as an option, right? And then when we award the contract, we could say we could with the sidewalk option or without the sidewalk option.
Yep.
And then we would.
Yep, we could do it that way. Yep.
Okay. Because then we have to keep moving on this to get out for bids before, well, we can still get advantageous bidding.
Right.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Help me understand real quickly. If we looked at doing something like that, what is the option to make sure that sidewalk, I mean, is there a vote that we?
Yeah. When we award the contract, it'll come in and it'll say, here's the contract, do you want option A or not?
Yep.
And option A would be, we would be separating out that sidewalk as a separate, so then we would have a full discussion at that time, plus we would have more information because we would know what the sidewalk is gonna cost too.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we would have the base bid would be all the other components of the work, presumably also including the kumquat sidewalk, and then the alternate, the bid alternate would be for the sidewalk on 110th.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
You know, I think that plan makes the most sense because from the other descriptions we've heard, Kumquat seems to be a little bit busier, and especially with the distance of going up to Northdale there. You know, having a sidewalk that runs on that north-south part, I can see that making a lot of good sense. You know, we've seen between Foley and Moore Park, as we've also heard, those are relatively quiet. Those are relatively stable streets. Half of them are cul-de-sacs that people could walk down as well. So I think we need to include Kumquat in this and figure that math out. I think an alternate for 110th is a good way forward for us to keep this moving forward, make a better decision when bids come back, and make a final decision then, and still have all the better information than what we have now.
Councilmember Armstrong, does that work for you?
I would support that.
Because you would still get an opportunity to fight another day and.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
All right, Councilmember Carlson?
I actually hadn't heard anything from residents because I know Councilmember Armstrong has been pretty much everywhere you know, up Kumquat and 110th. And so maybe that's why nobody's called me. But I was contacted today by a resident. The one resident I've heard from since this all started was someone who lived on Kumquat, who was in favor of the sidewalk, and they lived on that side of the street. So to me, it does seem like 110th Avenue, it does seem like the largest area of contention. And, you know, I'm happy to support this as long as I know that we can revisit that sidewalk on 110th Avenue. I appreciate that point that you made, Councilmember Geisler. I think that, you know, I can certainly support it if I know that we can have that conversation about 110th, the sidewalk on 110th Avenue.
Your Honor?
Okay, Councilmember Novak?
I completely agree with that one. I am willing to discuss a sidewalk on Kumquat. It sounds like that one has some benefit, has some not as beneficial stuff to people's opinion. I haven't heard anyone say anything good about a sidewalk on 110th. So
No, we'll have that conversation on another day.
yeah.
Okay, we've had our public hearing. Okay, what's your wishes, council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Butler?
I move that we adopt resolution number 26-1 sub 6A, ordering the improvement. A supermajority vote is needed for this. And then adopt resolution number 26-1 sub 8, approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids.
Your Honor, I'm wondering if we could take those one by one, since one of them does require a supermajority.
I'm sorry, then I'll just go
problem.
with the first part, which is adopting resolution number 26-1 sub 6A, ordering the improvement.
And I would remind council that a supermajority is 6/7, 6 of you. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Butler and a second by Armstrong. Is there further discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
does our
Griscoviac?
resolution include the option then of a sidewalk on 110th?
Correct,
Okay,
correct. We don't need to, I mean, you got that,
okay,
right?
just went on the record.
Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Butler?
I move that we adopt resolution number 26-1 sub 8, approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids.
Second.
Motion by Butler and a second by Armstrong. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Sheet back out here. Where are we at? 6. All right, consider adoption of ordinance 2648, amending the city charter sections 1-505 and 1-511. Mr. Brody, this was introduced at our last meeting, correct?
Correct, and it's coming back now for adoption. A couple of unique things, because it is a charter amendment. It does require a 7-0 vote of the council if you desire to approve it, and that is our recommendation, and our recommendation that came from the Charter Commission. It's basically a housekeeping measure for petition and referendum within our charter. It requires that we provide, as part of the petition, the year of the birth. We did not have that in our charter or in our petition. This action would bring that up to in compliance with the state rule. So we're just asking that you would adopt ordinance 2648 and authorize summary publication of the ordinance.
Sounds
Your
good. Councilmember Novak?
I move that we adopt ordinance 2648 to amend the city charter sections 1-505 and 1-511 and authorize summary publication of the ordinance.
Second. Motion by Novak and a second by Geisler. Is there discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 7 is to consider planning case 25-15 and 25-16. Consider, well, we probably need to take this off the table, don't we? Did we
Yes,
table
we
this?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Geisler?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we take planning case 25-15 and 25-16 off the table for consideration.
Second.
Motion by Geisler and a second by Carlson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is off the table. Now we're going to consider a planned unit development and preliminary plat, Balfany Farms, 12301 Shenandoah Boulevard, Northwest, Land Spec Fund 5 LLC. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Patzner on this? We've had lots of presentations on it.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler?
Mr. Patzner, I know I'd asked you this question over the weekend, and I was wondering if you could just share with this group. You know, we had talked about in our work session how, you know, LDR 3 had just passed last year. This variance would not quite conform with that. So I'd asked Mr. Patzner if he could compare the standards in LDR 3 to this development just to show where it's still within compliance and what the variances would be, given that the original variance was that.
Hold on.
Councilmember Butler, I do have responses to that. So were the property to be zoned LDR 3, the ask that the applicant is making would be non-compliant or would require variances or flexibility to 3 of the items in LDR 3, not including the cul-de-sac length, which is something that applies to all residential districts. So these would be lot area, lot width, and garage floor area. So what they'd be asking for would be 6,250 square feet of lot area, which is a 13% deviation from the 7,200 square feet required in LDR 3, 50 feet in lot width, which is a 17% deviation from the 60 feet required in LDR 3, and then for garage area, it would be a minimum of 390 square feet, which is a 19% deviation from the 484 square feet required in LDR 3. So those would be the 3 asks that go below essentially the LDR 3 district standards.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
So
Oh, go ahead.
you probably wouldn't need the maximum lot coverage increase from 30 to 60%. LDR 3 is 50% lot coverage, so most likely no variance would be required there, you're thinking, right?
Correct.
And then the minimum lot area for the corner lots, they're looking for 7,500 square feet for the corner lots, and LDR 3 is 8,400 square feet for the.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for pointing that out. I did just fail to mention the corner lots. Those lot area and lot width would be deviating from the standards for the corner lots as well.
Okay. Councilmember Griscoviac?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I appreciate you tabling it. I couldn't make last meeting, so I appreciate you tabling this because it gave me an opportunity to talk with staff. It gave me an opportunity to look at some other development properties similar to this. Then it also allowed us, of course, to have the work session last week where we kind of talked about some of the concerns. So I learned a lot, and I have less questions now than I did before, but I do still have some concerns with this. I will say this, the one thing that I noticed with the other Lanier properties that I visited in Otsego, St. Michael, Ramsey, there are lots like this of this size in those other communities, but they're all part of a much larger planned unit development. So those other properties, developments have a mixture of the large standard home, they have a mixture of these smaller lots on slab on grade like this, and then there's also a mixture of like quad homes and dual homes. So I hadn't seen a property that was this dense on its own. The second thing I noticed with all of those properties, and they look good, the houses look nice, Lanier makes a good product. The other thing that I noticed that all of those other properties I looked at, they all had some type of HOA assigned with it. And when I looked at that, the HOA costs were from $64 a month to $192 monthly. One thing that struck me, especially with a cul-de-sac that is longer than standard, a 650-foot cul-de-sac, is I'm thinking without some type of HOA, the simple things like garbage service. You know, if we could be looking at 15 trucks a week going down and doing a U-turn at the end of this cul-de-sac, so I would think at minimum we'd want to maybe look at an HOA. I have quite a few other concerns with this too, including what we just talked about a minute ago, sidewalks. When a development goes in, now is the time to put a sidewalk in. And I think that a development this dense, there's going to be kids in here, and a sidewalk would definitely be merited, especially since we're considering an easement on the property that is going to be a trail to a park. I just think it would make sense that we had a sidewalk in here. So those are a couple of my concerns. I also am concerned that in the other developments that we looked at, the garages were up to standards. They would actually hold 2 cars and maybe a bicycle and some suitcases or whatever. These houses aren't going to have basements, so I think that storage would be a concern for everybody. I could go on for a while. Another thing, they're proposing to build up this property to make it buildable by building a 26-foot deep trench that is going to be 700 feet long, I don't know, 150 feet wide, steep, 26 feet deep. I'm not sure what a trench like that is going to look like in a few years. Who maintains that? You certainly couldn't mow it. I don't know if it's going to fill with water or just be a big eyesore back there. So I can get around some of these things, but these are all the concerns that I really started to think about when I saw the other developments that Lennar's proposing with houses of this nature. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Novak?
I'm going to restate my concern from the last meeting, and that's simply that length of that cul-de-sac is very concerning to me. I live in a very short cul-de-sac, and I've seen emergency vehicles, not fire trucks, but ambulances, police cars, that kind of thing, get stuck in that snow because the city schedule for plowing a cul-de-sac is not optimal for the people who live there. If you have that many people living at the end of that long of a cul-de-sac, that could be very dangerous if someone has a medical emergency.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Carlson?
Before I say anything, I do want to say that Lennar does have a good product. I've seen a lot of Lennar homes in the last week. As a matter of fact, I have some friends moving to Cape Coral, Florida, and they're buying a Lennar home. My son's going to be living on a home, different builder, sorry, but about the same size. I did go out to Sky Meadows, looked at the venture section of Sky Meadows, which I was told was comparatively the closest to it. One thing I did notice about that section of the neighborhood was that they did have a sidewalk. They did have, I believe, 22-foot deep garages, and they did have an HOA. Now, I don't know exactly what their HOA covered, but I guess my point to this is that I would be most concerned about an HOA. I would like to see an HOA. Just because you have a lot of residents, squeeze in there. And if you have a neighbor that doesn't take care of their property, it could be a real problem. You've got a lot of homes in there, 29 homes in a 650-foot cul-de-sac. For me, the biggest thing is I think there should be an HOA. I think it'd be great if the garage size was the same size as Venture, and I agree with Councilman Griscoviac. It would be nice to have a sidewalk like there was in Sky Meadows, because we were talking about people, coming across, going to Cardinal Woods, and to Councilmember Griscoviac's point, we want families to live in the homes on the cul-de-sac. So it would be nice to have a sidewalk. To me, the biggest sticking point is the HOA.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
So I have a very different tack to this one. One, we just talked about a sidewalk of needing them for safety purposes because of through traffic, and not needing one because there wasn't a lot of people who drive through it. Cul-de-sacs have no throughput. They only the people who live on them drive on them. So there really isn't as significant of a safety concern there. And the park that they're connecting to is at the end of the cul-de-sac. So they wouldn't have to cross any major roads. There really isn't any traffic there. So I don't think a sidewalk is worthwhile. To an HOA perspective, HOAs are there to help ensure that shared amenities are preserved. There are no shared amenities on this development, none at all. There's no shared clubhouse, there's no pool, there's no toddler park, there's no nothing like that. These are just single-family homes. This would be like asking to put in, a new HOA around Thompson Heights because there's a whole bunch of homes that are all right there, right? It doesn't make sense. There's no shared amenity that would need to keep that up. To the aspect of property maintenance, city has an enforcement arm to handle that. We already do that everywhere around the city when it's required. We have ways to handle that problem. So I don't see a compelling reason for an HOA. To the point of digging a ditch, it's a retention pond is what it will be, because if anyone knows what this property is, right now this is currently a sod farm, a peaty, boggy sod farm that is already pretty dang close to being a wetland. Once we dig down, it's gonna fill with water. Frankly, I don't know how they're gonna get down to 26 feet without it being full of water. So they're gonna have their work cut out for that one. But it will become a pond. That's what we're gonna have, is we're gonna have a pond and some backyards. So the final point that I wanted to make is, one of the things that we are charged with is making sure that the highest and best use of our land is being observed and executed upon. Right now, this entire parcel, which is 30 acres, this development is only 10 of that, so a third of it. This entire 30 acres generates about $700 in city property taxes. You can go look at that up on the parcel viewer. If you look at 29 homes that are valued at, they gave us an estimate, I'm gonna shave it back a little bit, at around $400,000. That would generate $50,000 on the city property tax levy that we wouldn't have to ask our existing residents to pay. So we are looking at taking, if we take a third of that $700, about $250, and turning it into $50,000 by approving this development. That's a sizable offset. Plus we get 29 new families in our community. That's also a pretty good benefit because we all want new neighbors. I don't see a compelling reason to deny this, honestly. Is it a little denser than LDR3? Yes, it is. It's 6 denser homes than what LDR3 would math out to be. So 23 versus 29. I think we're splitting hairs to say no to this. I think that this is an opportunity for us to get single-family homes, which is something this council over the years has routinely requested more of, and less townhomes and less apartments. We have a single-family home development in front of us that will help defray future costs on the levy that isn't ideal, but this plot isn't ideal. We're out of ideal spaces to build in the city. We're over 90% built out. Everything left is gonna be weird and hard to develop. The developer told us that. This is the only way to make it out. If we don't approve this, Plan B is a sod farm, growing grass. 29 homes or grass. That's what we're faced with. So I am 100% for this development.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler?
I'm also in favor of this development, and to echo some of what Councilmember Geisler said, our options are we either give 29 families a chance to live in Coon Rapids, or we're agreeing to raise taxes on everybody in Coon Rapids. I think on top of that, you know, when we're thinking about just what could this land be for, again, this is really, it's either going to be empty land or it's gonna be 29 homes. You know, I understand some of the concerns about garage size or, you know, some of the dimensions of these, but I live in one of those Ramblers from the 50s. It's a smaller square footage than what these are proposed to be, and my garage is barely more than this square footage. My wife and I get along just fine. We're a nice young family in Coon Rapids. I think it'd be good to get more young families in Coon Rapids. And beyond even just this specific development, the market's slow. We're having a lot of trouble getting any sort of development due to factors outside of our control. But the reality is that this is where the market for new housing is. I think that if we don't approve this, it's not just that we're going to miss out on this. We could set a reputation for our city of not being interested in development at all, and I think that could really be a black eye on us for several years.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Carlson?
On September 15th, we voted on and approved LDR3. I watched it again. I remember the council member that made the motion. I remember the council member that made the second, and it was a vote of 7-0. The whole idea was, let's fill these small spaces with LDR3. We thought that was a good compromise to bring more single-family homes in some of these 10% little smaller areas that you're talking about. I understand the situation here with this this new development. I understand that because of the extra excavation and such like, we wanted to get 6 more homes in there to do that. So, keeping it at LDR 2 with a whole lot of variances. And I understand the situation and why we want more homes in there to make up for the loss of all the excavations. I totally get that. I worry a little bit about the precedent, though. We create LDR 3 on September 15th for a reason, and I remember even some people say, well, we all agreed, 7-0. And then now we're taking what could be an LDR 3, or an LDR 2 with just not as many modifications, not asking for a whole lot, add an HOA. We have it at Central Homes, and Central Homes has larger garages than we have in these homes. There's an HOA there, they're freestanding. The whole point would be, to make sure that we have the lawn care covered, the snow removal covered, and the sanitation keeping at one company. One company, 3 trips once a week down that 650-foot cul-de-sac. So I'm not asking, I know it sounds like a lot when we're asking for it, but at least an HOA.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Novak?
I've actually been the president of our HOA, and I'll be honest with you, I've got mixed feelings about homeowners associations in general. I've seen them go really, really good, and I've seen them go really, really bad. Our HOA had a real hard time after 4 years of not getting our windows replaced when we put our own windows in there and they didn't match everybody else's. Well, maybe you should have paid for them yourself. But in a situation like this, the HOA isn't there to take care of shared property as much as it is to take care of, as Councilmember Carlson said, lawn care, snow removal, trash. These are all things that come up on a weekly basis that the HOA has to deal with. And they deal with it so that the individuals don't have to. And again, in a situation like that, personally, I'd feel a bit better if you had people going back there to take care of things like snow removal. You've got 2 football fields worth of road going back. If there's not going to be a sidewalk, if there's not going to be an HOA, then yes, I am concerned about people getting back there. There are somewhere between 23 to 29 homes that are going to be there. That's 23 to 29 families that all pay taxes for emergency services that deserve to have them whenever they need them.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
First of all, a question for the planning staff. So for public planned unit developments, PUDs, they're all taken on their individual merits, is that correct? And there's not a precedent-setting practice to them? They're site-specific, they're plan-specific, they are unique to where they're deployed?
Generally, yes, that is correct, Councilmember Geisler.
Thank you. To the other point that I would make is, we talked about single hauler in a work session earlier this year because we were discussing, boy, there's a whole lot of trucks rolling around, and this council and a majority said, we don't want to do that. But we want to make a small part of the city have to do that. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel that that is juxtaposed. We discussed it and said, nah, we don't want to pursue that, we don't want to look at that. But an HOA forces it. And we would de facto be forcing single hauler on a set of residents because we think it'd be too many garbage trucks. I don't like the cognitive dissonance of that. I think if we're concerned about the number of garbage trucks, we probably should have a different discussion than what we're talking about here.
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor?
Well, if it weren't for hyperbole, we would have nothing tonight.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Carlson?
I don't think this would be the first neighborhood with an HOA.
I don't think so.
It would not.
I think they're in other places as well.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler?
I think with LDR 3, I did vote for it. I think it's a great idea. There will still be times that we need to look at things that would require a variance. I think that creating LDR 3 was a good move. It's frankly something the council should have done years ago rather than 6 months ago. We have gotten to use it once, and I'm glad we did. but there will still sometimes be creative ideas for things such as a former sod farm. Related to that, I really do think, you know, Lennar is a great builder. They frankly build smaller homes than this that are way more affordable, but LDR3 wouldn't accommodate that either, and that's just a different affordability challenge for us, but I really do think it'd be a mistake to let this go over the difference of a handful of homes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Kraskowiak?
I'll just say this. I'm not against development, of course not. I voted for LDR3. And even on this project, I'm okay with the development here. I'm okay with them going with the narrower lot than LDR3, all the way down to 50 feet. I'm okay with a lot of this stuff, but there's just other things that, that I think we're gonna look back at and say, that wasn't a very good idea. The big trench is not a stormwater pond. They're building a stormwater retention pond to the north side. Regarding that big trench, I asked the city engineer in our work session, what's gonna happen to that? And you guys remember what he said? I don't know. It could fill up with water, could be dry half all the time. So, and again, if it's dry, how does a homeowner maintain that? Just hard for me to fathom that. And you know, there's a lot. It's a sod farm, and it's hard to develop a peat bog. There's no question about it. We've got a lot of undevelopable land in Coon Rapids because we're right here in the watershed. So I think that an HOA would not be out of the question on this to make sure that we have nice, good-looking development years down the road. I could be persuaded not to have that sidewalk. I think it might make a good point. It is a 650-foot-long cul-de-sac, which is, again, way out of our variance. But it has the access going into, oh, by the way, the trail access going into Cardinal Woods Park. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Cardinal Woods Park, but the reason it's called Cardinal Woods is it is a very dense woods. And you go back in there, there is all kinds of wildlife in there. You walk into the middle of the woods and it's like you're in a bird sanctuary. So there are neighbors too that actually have concerns about where that trail is going in. I think we could easily skirt it on the edge of Cardinal Woods Park and bring it up into this property, but again, just another concern that I have. So I think we got to look at this very carefully, and again, I would be okay with an HOA. Again, every other Lennar project, though they're doing it in other communities. There are other communities aren't agreeing to this many variances to their city code. I mean, we can go back and forth on some of them, but to give an approval on every one of them I think would be a mistake for us. I'm opposed to it at that point.
Okay. I don't know how we're going to move forward yet, but my two would be either conforming to LDR3 or an HOA for the lawn care and the snow removal and the sanitation.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler.
I know the developer is here. Could the developer speak to just the potential cost benefit of if this project's viable, if either of those two options went up? We had a work session and they said that over 12 builders were consulted. This is just really hard land to develop, and so I understand some of the nitpickiness here, but the answer is it's a sod farm or it's going to be 29 houses. So I'd love to hear from the developer just about, would either of these options be financially viable, or is this just going to be a no-go?
My guess is it'll be the same answer he gave us at the workshop, which was there is no plan B, which he owns the land. He's either going to have nothing or he's going to move forward.
I'll just speak
Yes, sir.
briefly regarding the HOA, and thanks for having us here tonight. We really appreciate it. The HOA can add upwards of $250 a month if you include management fees and just the dues. And that can really impact a family's ability to be able to afford these homes. So that's why we're opposed to it. There are no public amenities here to maintain. We think it's great to encourage homeowners to do their own snow and manage their own properties and not rely on some outside governing body to control their properties. So for that reason, we don't believe an HOA is required. That said, if it's a deal killer, I think we could find a way around it because there is no plan B. John Roush is here with me also. He's the, one of the landowners, and he had a few things to say.
Yeah, thanks for having us, John Roush. You know what, my wife grew up down the street. We got family in this area, and, you know, I grew up in a small town very similar to Coon Rapids, Mankato, and you guys always beat us in baseball, by the way, so I'm still got a grudge. But we lived in small homes, you know, and when we were able to finally move up and be able to buy something, you know, like a Lennar home, which is going to be $300,000 to $400,000, I assume, it put us on a budget. It was really, really hard to, you know, do I make a car payment? Do I ride this car out another year, or do I pay it to the HOA? I wouldn't have chose to live in an HOA. I grew up very poor, and I wanted to put the money in the house, and, you know, I'd change my own oil and that sort of thing. So it's an economic decision, but these are very, very nice homes. They're brand-new homes. I don't know how long a Lennar home will last, but I've seen, you know, 30, 40 years, potentially. And that's what we're trying to cater to, is that move up. You move from your starter home, maybe to the next home, join the Cardinals, beat the Mankato Royals in baseball, that sort of thing. You know, the other thing is this lake trench, I respectfully, you know, understand, you know, why I use that term. There's docks immediately to the south of us, of this proposed property. The property's 32 acres. We're only developing, I'm gonna call it a third of it, Joel. These would be, on average, 1.1 acre lots. We have our excavator, also partner here. I don't know if this thing's gonna fill up with water, but, you know, the water table everywhere else is.
It'll have water.
It'll have water. There are docks on the trench lake to the south. We're gonna call it a lake. We think it's an amenity. The landowners that are on the lake will have an association. We'll have some sort of an agreement, maybe association's too strong of a word, to provide for, you know, cleaning it up and maintaining it. So we think that's an amenity. I do anyway. I live on a pond/trench, and I love it. I get to look out there, and I get to look at the ducks and the geese, and we were out there today, and the number of birds that were piling in, and the deer tracks, and the trees that were all rubbed up. I see where that Cardinal Woods is definitely an amenity.
And your ice rink.
We have some friends that play hockey, you know, and that is hockey central. That is where the kids are gonna congregate. I also live on a cul-de-sac. My neighbors put up, my kids are 21 and 22, but they put up those signs, you know, kids at work or kids at play. That's where they play. They play in those cul-de-sacs. If you guys don't have kids, or if you haven't been down a cul-de-sac lately, go on the warm day, after school, go look. That's where they are. And if anybody's into hockey, they will have hockey rinks out on every one of those ponds. There's not gonna be, Joel, right, you're the engineer, we're not gonna have like dangerous drainage ways and things like that that are gonna, you know, suck the kids to wherever, Blaine. So that's real important to us, you know, to make a community that, you know, we can be proud of. This thing is 32 acres, and we're doing 29 lots at 1.1 acre apiece. That's why we bought this thing. We met with the staff in advance of purchasing the property, our engineers and our guy Luke did, and, you know, they gave us a pretty firm indication that we might have a good project here that everybody would be proud of, so that's why we bought the land. Open for any questions, if anybody has any of us.
So, Lennar is $192 a month for their association for somebody from Lennar here.
Alicia is here with us, and we were unclear. It varies depending on the community, the amenities, et cetera. I threw out a number as a somewhat of a guess, but yeah, it's somewhere between $100, $200, $250, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I'm a fan of people doing their own work, but when you give them a garage, it just barely is big enough for 2 cars. You don't really have room for all your yard stuff either then. So it seems like it seems like we've got opposing ideas there, but.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Novak?
Garage doesn't scare me a whole lot. Like I said, I live on a cul-de-sac, and ours is about 20 by 20 for the garage size. We can fit 2 vehicles, well, we used to fit 2 vehicles in there. I've got a pool table in there now, but we just park on our driveway. There's room to put a shed in if you need to be storing anything, but again, my concern is that 2 football fields of street. Now, what is the plan for snow removal there? I mean, I understand the city does that, but it can take a while for them to get to there. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think, I did look at the city map and, you know, throughout Coon Rapids, Blaine, just within a quarter mile of this site, there's probably 6 cul-de-sacs that are
I live in one of
over
them.
650. There's one that's, 900 feet long. The city of Blaine allows up to 600, and they'll allow even longer with certain conditions. I don't think it's an anomaly to have a cul-de-sac that's 640 feet long. I think people actually prefer it. They want to live there. They like the quietness of a cul-de-sac. So me personally, and nothing against you, Mr. Novak, but I think that's a great amenity of this site and not a detriment. That's just my opinion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
And just to clarify, even if we put it in HOA, this would still be a public street, right? And so an HOA wouldn't clear away the street at all.
Right.
It would only be driveways. So it wouldn't alleviate any of Councilmember Novak's concerns. It's up to the city to plow appropriately and where we're required. And also, you know, folks can let us know when there's a significant issue in the roadway, which they do.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler?
So I know that the gentleman here just said that, you know, it'd be about 100, maybe $200 a month for an HOA. I just did the math. I pay $240 a month for city property taxes. So if we instituted an HOA as a requirement on this, we've just almost doubled the tax burden. And it's probably a little lower than double because I know these houses are worth more than mine, so maybe a 30% tax increase instead. But it would be the city saying, we want you to pay an additional $100 to $250 a month for very little service.
For
And I know
not
they're-
having to mow and for not having to plow your driveway and
I
for
do
not
those
having to pay for trash. Sure.
I do those for free for the most part. I do pay for trash.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, Councilmember Carlson?
Yeah, I don't see the HOA as necessarily as a punishment, because you would receive lawn service, snow removal, and trash service.
You're on.
Something.
Councilmember Novak?
I live in a cul-de-sac that has 2 duplexes and 2 quads. So there's a grand total of 12 units plus 1 single home. Our dues at the time were about $160 per unit. In general, the more units you have, the lower those come down, because you're not having to duplicate the same thing for each one. I am not against this. I just want to make that very clear. We do need more single-family housing here. That's something that we've wanted for a very long time. I will freely admit I didn't make the workshop where you were showing your numbers, but I'm a numbers guy. And the difference between 23 and 29, I can see where that would be an issue. Because you're talking about roughly, 26, 27% as far as the amount of profit coming back into it. Again, my biggest concern, and it's not so much that the road itself would be plowed. I understand that. However, if Coon Rapids ever wants to discuss how cul-de-sacs are plowed, we can have that discussion too. But that's not a time for right now. Is there anything else that you are looking for besides the variances that you've already asked for? What's going to jump up?
I don't think just to be clear, there's no variances, it's a PUD, right? And so when we say variance, we're talking about flexibilities to the rule, and that's just to get the 50-foot wide lot, right? And to get the smaller garage size, and max, what's the third?
Lot width, lot area, and
Lot
garage
area,
size. From
yeah.
from LDR3, it's more from LDR2.
And I did send an email to Max, I think on Friday, and I just wanted to reiterate what I sent to him. So we're asking for 50-foot wide lots, but we're proposing 30-foot wide homes. So we are gonna have 20 feet between our homes. I believe the LDR 3 would allow homes to be within 10 feet of each other. So while we're asking for some flexibility, this is gonna feel like a fairly open development. It's not gonna look like maybe some of those Lennar projects you looked at in Otsego and in Ramsey, I think it was. We're gonna have 20 feet wall to wall, which is significantly more than LDR. I mean, double what LDR would allow, LDR 3 would allow. So it feels dense on paper, but I think when it's built, it's gonna be a great community with lots of green space, and we feel.
And Mr. Novak, to address your question, this project does not work at 23 lots. We will have to scrap it and try to figure something else out. The other thing we did think about, and we don't have this figured out, is what if we made this a rental community? Then the HOA thing is easy. Then people are coming in, they don't wanna, they're here for that lifestyle of not wanting to shovel. When I was in my 20s, and that was a long time ago, or 30s, or whenever I could afford a $400,000 house, I was out there doing my home equity, the equity builders. I was doing the shoveling. I was mowing the grass. I was not gonna have some kid and by the way, it costs about $25 an hour now to pay a kid to mow your grass. I know that for a fact, unless it's your own kid. So it's really, it's those things that just fundamentally growing up little blue collar, that is a problem for me, with an HOA. I would have trouble living in an HOA with people doing those things for me when I was able to do them. But if we're real adamant about it and we think there should be an HOA community, providing those level of services, then it's probably not the single family am I using the right number, $400,000 homes. It's probably something different.
Just a quick follow-up. I do want to thank you guys for coming in, and I don't want you to feel like we're trying to rake you over the coals for no reason. I've been reminded by several people up here on this dais that we have city code for a reason, and if we're going to create exceptions to those codes, we need to make sure that it's done for a very good reason. So, thank you guys for coming.
Mr. Novak, could I also just add to, and exactly, we like to follow the codes. That's how we make a living is, doing that stuff. But I haven't seen a site like this where you can only develop a third of it.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a nature area. And I'd invite you guys, you have full permission, because we own it, to go sit out there tomorrow if it's at least a normal day and look at the ducks and the deer prints. I didn't see any deer. And the geese and all the critters that are out there. I don't know where they came from. But it was really a serene, wonderful experience for, sitting out there for 15, 20 minutes while the sun was going down. And, we're gonna keep that mantra. We're gonna create that trench will become a lake, I promise you.
Mr. Mayor, to that point, we'll call it a lake. It might be a lake. I know that, there's the ditch that runs through there too, so there's a Coon Creek Watershed District drains water through there, but, okay, we'll call it a lake, even if it's just a little one. So, you mentioned kids out there, maybe ice, skating on thing. With any consideration of the developer maintaining that lake in perpetual and allowing it to be a shared access?
No, in fact, I think city staff asked us to, extend those property lines over the lake so that there wasn't this common outlot there. I mean, if that were the case, then there would need to be some entity that would own that lake into perpetuity. If that's something the city desired, we would probably be looking for the city to own it. Maybe there's some HOA at that point that could pay into the city to maintain it, but we wouldn't. John, being the owner, he's not gonna be around forever. He's not gonna wanna own that lake forever and charge each homeowner a certain fee to own it, into perpetuity. I don't see how that would work.
In the applicant's narrative that I read, it was written in there that Lennar may retain ownership of that property or convey it to the city. We said we don't really want it to convey to the city because we don't want our property tax owners to be maintaining it. But so I think there might be that potential.
That there was absolutely the potential at the time, and when we had further discussion with Lennar, they were fairly adamant against the HOA for all the reasons we've stated. It's additional it's really about getting people into homes at a price point that they can afford. That's what it is. And if you have to pay another $200 a month, I mean, that's a car payment.
I get you. No, I get you.
You know?
Affordability is a huge thing.
Absolutely.
And I mean, these houses, when it was presented in the workshop, would be ranging from $420 to $460. Is that correct? Because I think we might have heard some other numbers
We're using
there.
some round numbers, but yes.
Okay, yeah. No, I get that. The other concern that I have is, you know, with the really small garages, there's going to be cars on the street a lot on a long cul-de-sac too. So, are these driveways all conforming to our standards? I think they are, right?
Councilmember Griscoviac, yes, they would be 25 feet from the home to the lot line, which is what we would allow in LDR 3, and then from the lot line to the curb, the city-owned section of the the right-of-way section would be another 10 feet. So.
Which is better than what I saw in the other developments that I saw. Lennar had pretty short driveways, and their houses were closer together. So I like the fact that these are farther apart, and that's why I'm okay with the 50-foot lot line. I did see a lot of cars in the street in the other developments, but.
And this is a 31-foot wide street, and Mark, I believe we park both sides or one side?
Parking would be allowed on both sides.
Both sides, because it's 31 feet wide.
During the summer months. No overnight parking
Fair.
because of snow. But I guess I'd like to see you maybe model what an HOA in there, at least for the bare minimums of lawn care and trash, just because it's a long cul-de-sac. I'm warming up to this more and more.
All right.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Novak?
It looks like we have some language here that is provided. In planning case 25-15, I move to approve resolution 2629. I'm not sure if I'm saying this, you'll have to let me know if I'm doing this properly. To approve the proposed planned unit development, subject to the 14 conditions that are listed in the agenda. Is that sufficient?
I don't think, I guess your intent is, I mean, we've got some entity or instrument be established to ensure perpetual maintenance and liability associated with the southern pond. I don't think we address an HOA. In fact, I think our intent, the way we created those long lots is because they didn't want an HOA, so we wanted them not to have an outlot. If there's an HOA, certainly there could be an outlot that the HOA could manage, but I don't necessarily know if that's what they want, or if that's what council wants. If council's more concerned about the plowing of the driveways, the mowing of the lawns, things like that, that's a little bit different of an issue.
My motion did not contain an HOA.
So if that's your intent, then I think there was a second.
Yeah.
And I apologize.
So we got a motion by Novak and we get a second by Geisler. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I think the only way I can get behind this would be to include an HOA of some sort. Again, I did research on this. I looked at other developments. Lennar is doing HOAs. Other communities are needing the HOA in their code. And I think it's a small thing to try to get this many in here. This is going to be pretty dense. It's going to look nice, I think, but we have to have some of those things built in.
Councilmember Griscoviac, I would be amenable to a friendly amendment.
Well, let's work with what we got here first. Councilmember Geisler?
I think, you know, when you think about an HOA, those costs will inflate every year. And when we're looking at our street recon, costs $2,700 that you can pay over 10 years. This would be asking someone at $200, which is probably what we're gonna end up with. A special assessment every year is what we'd be asking for by shoving this in. I don't think we need an HOA here. I understand the concerns there. I also believe that people can be responsible for their homes, because we ask a lot of citizens to do that. Matter of fact, tens of thousands of citizens do it. So I know that there are HOAs elsewhere, but yeah, I don't think we need one just because it's a little denser.
Okay. All right. Other discussion? Okay. We have a motion
and a second. I will not be supportive of it because I would either want LDR3 or an HOA. But all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. All right, let's do a hand count with the ayes. 1, 2, 3. And the nays. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that didn't pass. So then we would be looking at the denial language.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Geisler?
considering the comments made by yourself and by Member Skoviak, if we added the condition of an HOA, but still approved otherwise as stated here, is that something that folks would be amenable to?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
I would support it with just the HOA.
Yep, as would I. If Lennar can do it in other communities, I don't know why we should settle here.
Mr. Mayor, I do think Mr. Brody might have a concern.
I'm just trying to figure out procedurally how we could undo what you just did. But I think. Sure.
Yeah.
That's true. Thank you, I apologize.
Yep. Okay.
Motion failed. So.
Thank you, Robert's Rules. So, Mr. Mayor, with that said, I would like to make a motion that in Planning Case 25-15, the City Council approves resolution number 26-29, approving the proposed planned unit development subject to the 14 listed conditions, as well as a 15th condition that an HOA be established over the entire development.
Second.
Motion by Geisler and a second by Novak. More discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries.
Mr. Mayor.
Hoping to figure something out, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Councilmember Geisler?
I'll make a motion in Planning Case 25-16 that the City Council approves the proposed preliminary plat, subject to the following conditions. The final plat must show the easement for the trail connection to Cardinal Woods Park. The final plat must show southern lot lines extending to the southern site boundary, eliminating Outlot C. Final plat must show a cross drainage and utility easement over all of former Outlot C for common conveyance of water between property owners, and approval of the associated PUD request in Planning Case 25-15.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Geisler and a second by Carlson. And Mr. Patzner, I assume in that associated PUD request, it doesn't say no to an HOA, right?
That's correct. It just says that some instrument be established, which could include an HOA. So adding a condition to require an HOA is amenable to what we have.
Thank you.
And just so I'm,
Mr. Brody?
this is getting complicated, I want to make sure that we understand the council's intention in the motions that you've made. For me, what I interpreted is we're going to set up an HOA for the purposes of snow removal, those items. We still have a condition that we're going to have a separate instrument, which we're working on with the developer, to regulate that pond, which we are not, which will be owned by the individual property owners that will extend into the pond. They'll manage it themselves. We won't have any say over that. So as long as we're all clear on that, then I think the staff has enough direction, and I think the developer has enough direction, and I think the findings have enough direction here.
Mr. Brody, is there any way that the HOA could take over the management of the water feature?
It would be difficult now with you can't have either the lots can extend into it like they do now, like we just approved.
Yeah.
That way, then everybody owns a little piece of the lake.
Okay.
Otherwise, we could have created an outlot that the HOA could have been the owner of, and then that could have been part of the HOA. I mean, that's generally kind of typically how they run the common elements. That would be, I guess, the common element. That makes it a little bit more complicated than sort of snow removal and.
Okay, well, if you guys figure out something like that'd be better. All 7 of us voted for it. Any one of us could bring it up again and vote.
But again, I get a little concerned because we just approved a plat that shows the lot lines extending all down without a creation of an outlot.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Brody, we have not approved the plat yet.
Oh, I apologize.
We are on the plat right now, so if you would like us to, I could move. As we've currently, it's been motioned and seconded. But if staff is recommending an amendment to remove condition 2, which is that southern lot lines extend to the southern site boundary, eliminating Outlet 3.
And I don't
So we
want-
would not do that.
I guess I want to defer to, I mean, there's different reasons for to having it, an HOA controlling that pond versus having individual property owners do that. And we as a staff have been kind of going back and forth on that. We've come to this sort of agreement or, where the individual lot owners would do that. So I guess I want to confer briefly with staff to make sure we're still comfortable with undoing it with HOA, putting the HOA back in play. And it sounds like the developer might have some questions as well.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would the applicants be amenable to tabling the plat so you can have a further discussion, knowing that we've approved the PUD as it stands, or would you like us to decide that tonight?
I think our preference would be to decide it tonight, and I'll give you the reasons why. So if we put that pond back into an outlot and it's owned by an entity and then controlled by the HOA, only 13 of those lots really benefit from that pond, and you'll be burdening every one of those, the other 16 lots within that cul-de-sac. Therefore, we would prefer to keep it the way it is now, lot lines extending through the pond. There's a declaration over those 13 lots that enjoy the benefit of that pond. They maintain it. The other lots don't have the requirement to.
Your Honor?
Okay. Councilor Novak?
That would make it much easier for insurance purposes as well.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Griscoviac?
there's going to be an easement between lot 16 and 17. Couldn't that easement provide shared access to the pond?
It could, but I think in practicality, would you want people walking behind your house and putting up a ice rink in your backyard? Like, I understand what you're saying, and I've thought about that too, but our opinion is no, it's not fair to have those other 16 homes pay to maintain that pond when they're not really enjoying the benefit of it. That's our opinion.
Councilor Griscoviac, Geisler?
Then with that, I would, in the initial motion, we had at item 12, which was the entity or instrument as Mr. Brody had described for maintaining the pond. That has already been approved. And then I would humbly say, let's leave the motion as is for 25-16, which is preserving the 4 items as stated.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Geisler and a second by Carlson on that one, I think it was. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Brody, you good?
I'm good, thank you
All right.
for entertaining me tonight.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 8 is to consider the First Amendment to Purchase Agreement 2831 113th Avenue. Mr. Brown, you are here. Hello there.
Yes.
We discussed this at a workshop. We're looking to amend the purchase agreement from $303,000 to $163,000. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Brown?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Butler?
I move that we approve the First Amendment to the purchase agreement with the Visa LLC for the property 2831 113th Avenue Northwest.
Second.
Motion by Butler and a second by Geisler. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 9 is to consider adoption of the Resolution 26-30, approving the 2026 and 2027 International Association of Firefighters Labor Agreement. Ms. Roth, hello.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council. As it pertains to Resolution 2630, we ask the Council to approve the tentative agreement between the City of Coon Rapids and the Minnesota International Association of Firefighters Union Local 1935. The resolution and updated contract have been provided to you for your review, along with an applicable MOU that I'll discuss here in a moment. The terms of the tentative agreement are as follows. It's a 2-year contract effective January 1, 2026, ending December 31st, 2027. 3% COLA for 2026, accompanied with a 1% market increase to the base wages, and that would be effective January 1, 2026. And then also a pay plan revision for 2027, contingent with the dissolution of the Fire Relief Association program. And that new pay plan outlined in the memo and in the resolution you received would be effective January 1, 2027.
Your Honor?
Uniform allowance increased by $15 for 2026 and 2027. And we provided one shift for shift employees, so a 24-hour shift if you're a 24-hour employee, and an 8-hour shift if you're an 8-hour employee for health and well-being activities. Renewal of an MOU for the tuition reimbursement program. And that's it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
I think I know, but what would be the health and well-being activities? I'm just curious. And we're not talking like a spa day or something, are we? Or-
Sure. It could be the annual mental health checkup that they participate in. It could be engaging in medical appointments or mental health appointments. It can be a variety of different things.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, anybody have any questions?
Your Honor.
Councilmember Novak?
Ms. Roth, thank you again. You always do such a great job with our contract negotiations. I'm going to move to adopt Resolution 26-30, approving the 2026-2027 International Association of Firefighters Labor Agreement.
Second. Wow, a lot of support there. Motion by Novak, second by Carlson. Further discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
I'll ask a question to Mr. Stemmoto since he already sent me the data, and I'm asking it just of all of them. Could you put these in empirical numbers for this year? I understand they're all within budget, but just understanding what these contracts are. I'll ask it all the rest of them.
Sure, yeah. Councilmember Geisler, Mayor and Council. Just from a general dollar standpoint, the changes from 2025 to 2026 equal about 193,000, and then from 26 to 27, it's about 220,000 for $413,000 total. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. I read the top one. My apologies. Like, that didn't sound right. Let me start over. $124,000 increase from 2025 to 2026, and a $450,000 increase from 26 to 27 for 574 total. The reason there's a big jump in that 27 number is, as Ms. Roth alluded to or spoke to, is that we are proposing that the Fire Relief Association be dissolved this year. That has provided additional retirement benefits to our firefighters for decades if they participate in the program. And so what we worked out with the union was sort of an MOU that should that program dissolve in 2026, that their wages would be adjusted to effectively market average wages for full-time fire departments in the metro area, to sort of recognize and offset a portion of that lost benefit that they'd realize if that were to dissolve. So that was done in concert with the union group, and the discussions related to the Fire Relief Association are sort of separate but related discussions, and that'll be something the City Council considers probably in early April.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
Just clarification from Ms. Roth on that health and well-being activity, 24 hours for shift employees, 8 hours for 40 hours a week employees. So that's going to be, that's the equivalent of 3 paid vacation days? Is that how I read that, or no?
No, so our firefighters work 24-hour shifts.
Yep.
So typically their leave accrual matches that 24-hour shift. So in this situation, it was the wellness day also follows that same suit.
Okay. And kind of the same concern that I had when we approved the police contract. I mean, this is a pretty big impact on the levy, and as we thought, our contracts kind of follow that police union contract in terms of COLA increases and the wage increase. So here again, we're kind of, it seems like we're increasing a little bit above inflation, which kind of concerns me in the long term. We can't keep that up forever. I do have a question for Chief Piper, if you don't mind. We just hired 4 police officers, or badged them tonight, right? So then are we at full strength with fire?
Councilmember Griscoviac, yes, we are at 10 firefighters per shift.
Okay.
Of 3 shifts.
So we're remaining competitive in the market for good quality firefighters?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, just gotta keep those things in mind.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler?
I just want to again applaud that this looks like a pretty good deal for folks. I was talking to Chief Piper a couple weeks ago, and he said that our call volume was up 1,000 calls in 2025 relative to 2024. So I do think that the pay bump is warranted. I think it's great to have this health and well-being offset, because that's something folks have been asking for a while. And this is something we're probably going to have to monitor for future years, because staffing hasn't changed in a while, but that call volume keeps going up and up and up. And Chief Piper, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. It's about 8,200 from last year.
You are correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Butler.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 10, consider adoption of Resolution 26-31, approving the 2026 and 2027 Teamsters Local 320 Public Works Collective Bargaining Agreement. Ms. Roth.
Again, thank you. We ask you, Mayor and Council, to approve the tentative agreement between the City of Coon Rapids and the Minnesota Teamsters Public and Law Enforcement Employees Union Local 320. This is the Public Works Agreement. Again, a copy of the resolution and updated contract have been provided for your review, and a summary of the changes are as follows. Contract duration, again, 2 years, January 1, 2026 to December 31st, 2027. Wages, a 3% COLA increase and a 1% market adjustment to the base wages. That would be effective January 1, 2026 for all employees except mechanics. For mechanics, 3% COLA increase and a 3% market adjustment. Market indicated that differential needed to occur. And then in 2027, a 3% COLA and a 1% market adjustment for all job classes. All right, we had an increase to standby time, so it's typically 18 hours. It would go up to 20 hours. Increase to uniform allowance to $600, and that was contingent upon an agreement that they would purchase their uniforms through a select vendor. Our hopes is they'll look very professional and they will be identified as city employees, so that was important. A tool allowance increase for mechanics increased to $800, and increase to temporary employees work from 120 days to 180 days, and we changed from calendar days to work days, so it allows us to keep those people during some really key time and longer times. Otherwise, we were put in a position where we had to end their employment. And the time frame was expanded from April to December. Any questions?
Questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Butler?
I move that we adopt Resolution 26-31, approving the 2026 to 2027 Teamsters Local 320 Public Works Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Second.
Motion by Butler and a second by Novak. Is there further discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
Mr. Semwell, if you wouldn't mind.
Councilmember Geisler, Mayor and Council, I'll read the one I read earlier in mistake, but which is that the dollar increase from 25 to 26 is 193,000. From 26 to 27 is 220,000 for a total of 413,000.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 11 is to consider adoption of Resolution 26-32, approving the 2026 and 2027 Police Captain Labor Agreement.
Thank you again. We ask that you approve the tentative agreement between Law Enforcement Labor Services Local 528. This is the police captain's agreement and the City of Coon Rapids. The solution, or the resolution and the updated contract have been provided for your review again. The contract duration, again, is 2 years, so January 1, 2026 to December 31st, 2027. 3% COLA increase and a 1% market adjustment effective January 1, 2026. Effective January 1, 2027, a COLA increase of 3% and a market adjustment of 0.5%. Snapshot of that wage scale has been provided. We agreed to an additional wellness day for the police captains. It mirrors what we offered our police officers for a total of 3 shifts each year to promote health and well-being. Article 17, uniform allowance that increased from 1,000 to 1,025 in 2026 and 1,050 in 2027. And again, that mirrors what our police officers were offered. We have a memorandum of understanding for the captain's ability to divert 50% of their uniform allowance to one of the city's deferred compensation programs. We have 457 programs. And with that, any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, questions from Ms. Roth?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 26-32 approving the 2026-2027 Police Captain Labor Agreement.
Second.
Motion by Carlson, a second by Geisler. Now, discussion?
Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Mr. Stillman for the third one.
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'll just give you the quick summary. Over the course of the 2-year agreement, it's about $40,000 additional budgetary impact relative to the 2025 agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
I
Griscoe?
appreciate Councilmember Geiser bringing those numbers up to us. I mean, this is all going to play into, budgeting for future years. I have a question on this one, on number 5, the memorandum of understanding for the captain's ability to divert 50% of their uniform allowance to the city's deferred compensation program. Is that something brand new, or is that just because we're upping the allowance?
It's a brand new initiative. It's something that they requested during the negotiation process. So the only increase to their uniform allowance matched what the police get, and typically those positions get the same uniform allowance. It was about $25 each year.
Okay. To me, that kind of stands out as just an extra perk if they're not really needing the full uniform allowance. Now it goes into deferred compensation. So I wanted clarity on that. That might not be true, but okay.
All right. Not the hill you're going to die on?
No, not tonight.
Councilmember Geisler?
And I just wanted to highlight for folks, the reason why I like the empirical numbers is it helps contextualize what these percentages mean. Employees are by far the largest expense that a city incurs. It's not just us, it's everywhere. So understanding what that is and what that takes, a couple percentage points adds up to a lot of dollars when you go across the entire city. So I am fully supportive of all these agreements as I voted for. I just like to contextualize what that number is for everyone so they understand. Thank you.
All right. Somebody feel strongly enough to put this forward?
It's up there, Mr. Mayor.
It's already out there?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm a former member of the LAS 528, so I kind of wanted to make sure I got that motion in.
All right, thank you. I must have forgot, must have been writing a different note. All right, so apparently we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. All right, we are at the open mic portion of the meeting. Open mic provides an opportunity for the public to address the city council on subjects that are not part of the regular meeting agenda. The public is invited to express any concerns they may have which are relevant to the affairs, policies, or practices of the city of Coon Rapids. Remarks will be limited to 3 minutes. Should you wish to participate in open mic, please approach the podium and state your name and address before addressing the council. All remarks will be made from the podium and addressed to the council as a whole. Personal attacks are prohibited. An open mic is not a time for problem solving or reacting to the comments made, but for hearing the speaker for informational purposes only. Questions from council will be for clarification only, and if necessary, a staff report will be prepared for the next regular council meeting with a copy forwarded to the speaker. All right, if you want to just give us your name and address.
I'm Jim Shegstad. I live at 2940 119th Lane Northwest, Coon Rapids. Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you for giving me your ear. Recently, there was a newspaper article in the New York Times. Comments were made by the mayor At the same time, or previous to that, the community was asking for comments from the mayor and didn't get it. Some of the things said is, we're not a sanctuary city, and I don't think anybody believes that we are. I personally believe that we have some of the finest law enforcement in the metro area. I know some of the officers personally. We cooperate. I would personally like to know who we is. Are we the council? Are we the residents of Coon Rapids, the citizens? Who is we? If you're speaking on behalf, if you're going to be the leader of our community and speak for we, we'd like you to lead in other ways too. And I would like to know who we are when we say we cooperate. I cooperate with all law enforcement, but I'm still helping. I'm still in the community, moving food with my truck, bringing it to staging places where it can be then delivered to people in need during these times, through the difficult times they're having. There's people out there not with whistles. There's people out there not with tracking software or apps on their phone. There's people busting their butts to help those who seem invisible to some members of our city leadership. Invisible. I told a story recently at a meeting about, I have some graduate work in emergency management. There was a 1995 disaster in Chicago. It was a heat wave. 736 people died. They were older, they were poor, they were in sediment housing where the windows had been painted shut. They couldn't get air movement. There were power outages. People's air conditioning didn't work. And 736 people died before the city even knew they had a disaster. I liken that to this. This is a bit of a smaller scale, but there's forgotten people out there that are suffering. There's business owners losing business, losing money. If they are open, some of them aren't making enough to live on. So not everybody has whistles. People have pickup trucks. People are eating out more often to support people. I am very disappointed with what I read in this, what I read in this article. I did
5
many years
seconds.
in the military. And there's something that we commonly hear: lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Okay.
You had a chance to lead. Some of you led right after we first spoke.
Thank you. Next. I'm way too short for these things. All right. My name's Brett Ortler. I'm at 11414 Zavis Street here in Coon Rapids. So I'm addressing something similar. So the mayor's biography on the city website describes our city as follows, and I use this as an example. From our amenities and services to our close-knit neighborhoods and vibrant business community, our city offers the perfect mix of opportunities for people to thrive. Well, our business community isn't vibrant if restaurants or businesses perceived as non-white have to close temporarily, reduce services, or if patrons fear going out in public. That's no exaggeration. I'm not going to name names, but I'll describe them, and I think you'll know. All are in Coon Rapids: a Mexican restaurant just down the street, an ethnic food market over by Northtown, a buffet by Riverdale, and the list goes on and on and on. All of the above are paying property taxes and employees and offering valuable goods and services in our city, not to mention some really good food. And our neighborhoods aren't close-knit if some children and families can't go to school for fear of being racially profiled and detained without cause. I've spoken to teachers at Coon Rapids High School, where some families have stopped attending school in person because they're afraid of being harassed or detained by immigration enforcement. Community members have banded together to create emergency food shelves, as he mentioned, along with deliveries to families too afraid to pick up or drop off their kids at school. Now, don't assume that all these people are undocumented. Many simply don't want to go to school and get picked up, wrongly arrested, put on a plane to Texas, and left to find their own way home. That's been happening. As the paltry number of arrests in all of Operation Metro Surge show, only 4,000 in 6 weeks. Illegal immigration isn't a problem here. This was about targeted harassment, plain and simple. Now, finally, I don't know how our city can thrive when we read the country's newspaper of record, New York Times, and see our mayor disparaging Coon Rapids residents for expressing their concern about real suffering happening in our city. Let me be clear. We're not asking you to solve the immigration crisis or to have CRPD arrest the feds. All we wanted was for you to meet the historic moment and voice support for your fellow Coon Rapids residents and businesses with a fraction of the level of effort that you put into promoting the excellent Snowflake Days. Clearly, if we want leadership like that, we're going to have to look elsewhere. Thanks.
Thank you.
Angela Nelson, and I can give my address to the clerk. Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Ange Nelson, and I'm an elementary school principal, an educator, a mom, and a lifelong resident of Coon Rapids. In each of these roles, I've seen firsthand the devastation and fear that the federal immigration enforcement action and ICE have brought into our community. I have sat at bus stops to make sure that students feel safe enough to go to school. I have carpooled with neighbors who are afraid to drive home alone and delivered food and basic necessities to families afraid to leave their homes. I've supported mutual aid efforts that sprang up almost overnight to meet our community's needs. And this is why I'm deeply troubled to read the mayor's comments in the New York Times, telling neighbors to get off tracking apps and put the whistles away, minimize the very real harm and trauma our families are experiencing. The economic impacts are ongoing. The mental health toll is devastating, trust in our government and institution is broken, and in some cases beyond repair. Families are still living in fear, children are still missing school. Activities, stability, the damage is compounding and it's going to take years to repair. We cannot pretend that this is over, we cannot bury our heads in the sand and hope it passes. We need our leaders to step up, to protect those who have been harmed, and to show through real action that they are valued members of the community. We need a public statement. We need a clear plan to address the economic, emotional, and community-wide fallout. We need courage. With all due respect, we will not sit quietly while our neighbors are being terrorized and our leaders fail to meet the moment. We will organize, we will speak up, and we will ensure that Coon Rapids is a safe and welcoming community for everyone through our continued efforts, through our advocacy, and through our votes in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alana Callio, and I'm a resident of Fridley, Minnesota. My address is 7626 Arthur Street, Northeast Fridley. I am here today to request that the mayor of Coon Rapids and City Council condemn the actions of ICE and make tangible efforts to ensure safety of all Coon Rapids residents. This evening outside, we held a vigil for the lives lost due to ICE, including Victor Manuel Diaz, who was a community member, a father, a brother, and a son. He worked in this city, and at his place of work, he was abducted by ICE. A week later, he was found dead in Texas under suspicious circumstances in ICE custody. The silence about the federal occupation of our city, which allowed it to happen, speaks volumes. And the inaction that has followed is unacceptable. I'm asking the council members who represent this community to act to protect the people who elected them, to ensure the safety of children as they attend and leave schools, to protect local businesses, to prevent more abductions, separation, and preventable death. City officials should follow the lead of other cities who have made public statements of solidarity with their communities. Please find humanity and love in your hearts to stand up to this harm against our neighbors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Connor Olson. I'll give my address to the city clerk. I've been a resident of this city for 4 years, 2 as an industrial painter and 2 as a student of political science at Anoka Ramsey. When I first came to Coon Rapids, politics were not on my mind. But after becoming a part of this community, political work and education have been at the forefront of my life. I'm not an activist. I've never marched in a protest. But I am a working student, working in government and on campaigns when I can, and in manufacturing when I need to pay the bills. Tonight, I'm here after 10 hours on the shop floor. I'm tired, and so is our community. In the past few months, as members of this community, have faced countless threats and disruption. We have seen remarkable work being done. They have organized food collections, provided for those without stable income, and offered security to our schools and businesses. They have done so alone, but inspired. And as we approach the 250th anniversary of this nation, we should remember why the early republic prevailed. Everyday citizens provided for one another when their government neglected to, and then elected leaders who stood with them in providing for one another. It is this work that gives me the courage to make a public statement, something I've never done before. I have long preferred to keep my personal politics private, letting my work speak for itself. That was authentic, but it didn't require bravery. But I'm no longer avoiding controversy. I'm going to be authentic and accountable to my community in this moment. I risk being misunderstood and imperfect, but waiting until I'm more prepared would mean passing this moment in silence, and I cannot let that happen. I am choosing to use the power I have, my voice, in order to affirm and protect this community. I have been moved to speak by the sacrifices of a community that has been loud without me, but needs every voice it can add. Up until tonight, this council and I shared one thing. Neither of us had spoken in support of these community efforts. That has changed for me. Our neighbors are depending on one another, and the record should show my stance clearly. I want there to be no mistake when we look back at this moment in the future. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to be seen believing it. And so I ask the city council for their help in standing with their neighbors instead of dividing us between friends and enemies. We are one Coon Rapids with one message of hope, love, and support. Do not let silence speak for you. Issue a council statement. Thank you.
My name is Vanessa Height. I wasn't planning on being here tonight because I've been busy in the community and I'm exhausted. But I do need leadership to hear from me and other people that are speaking today, so I threw something together. I will give my address to the clerk. I'm a resident of Coon Rapids here. While I care about sidewalks and snow removal, we have bigger issues right now. Tonight, I see old white men in power swearing in more of the same in a room full of similarly privileged people. I noticed maybe 2 brown people here tonight. One of them is a custodian that a lot of us probably overlooked. And I actually am hesitant to bring up him because now he's on somebody's radar, and maybe next week he'll disappear. And that is a reality. I am on the ground with our community and witnessing these horrific things. Our city leadership is not meaningfully connected to large swaths of our community because if you were, you would not let these atrocities continue. Our neighbors' rights are not being protected, my rights are not being protected, and our children are being traumatized. And at least one of our community members has died, Victor Diaz. And I have met his friends and his roommates by chance because I am engaged in this community, and it's heartbreaking. Federal agents are breaking laws in ways that make it easier for them to break more laws. Meanwhile, the people we have entrusted to protect and serve our communities are not meeting this moment. Your leadership has been asked to ensure the safety and well-being of our community. So far, the response suggests a lack of willingness or ability to truly serve. I implore you to pause, reflect on your values and your responsibilities, then do what is humane and right for this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cindy Gipsky, and I'm from 12969 Ibis Street, Coon Rapids. And I'm going to take you on a drive along for a moment. Members of our community work here so hard getting out food to people who can't get out, they can't go grocery shopping, they've been locked in their homes. And so on the morning when they went out, on this morning going out, and this is a story from a friend of mine, we can't go out to deliver it because our car has been made, and so we could be tracked by ICE and be bringing them into the communities that we're trying to give food to. So on this morning when they go into the park and they were delivering food to these people in need, each one of the households that they go to and they ring the doorbell, the people come out and say, I am here legally. Do you want to see my papers? My papers are here. I am legally here. I work. I have 3 jobs. From house to house that you're going, oh, thank you for coming. We were almost out of food. We're here legally. Do you need to see my papers? The very last house that they went to that day that they were delivering on the addresses, they kept looking at the house next door. There was somebody looking out by the shades, and he kept looking out. And then just as they were leaving, he came to the door and said, stop, please. Do you have a bag for me? We're all out of food. There were 3 little ones standing behind him. Do you need to see my papers first? Can you get me food? Of course, they went back and got him more food. But these are just some of the people that are out there in need. They are here. They have entered this country legally, and they are the backbone of working in this society. They do the jobs in our nursing homes. During COVID, they were the ones that were cleaning the hospitals, and they were doing it without PPE. This is just so sad. But I do want to say thank you to our police department here. I have 10 grandchildren, and out of those 2 are only white. The rest are mixed race. 4 of them would not be passing, and they are in that age group from age 20 to 15 where they have jobs. They're out in the community and they're scared. They have to carry their papers all the time. I was frightened for them driving back and forth. They'd had friends who'd had ICE pull up next to them, just showing them their guns because of the color of their skin. Do you know how frightening that is for a child that's 17, 16 years old, and they're seeing this in the community? So I came into the police department here and said, if I tell my grandchildren that they're being pursued, you can pull them to the police station and honk your horn. Call ahead of time. Call 911. Will you answer? Will you come to their aid? Will you come out? And the person that I spoke to that day was wonderful. They said, we can't intervene, but we will be there. Our cameras will be on.
Okay.
And I thank her for the answer too, that this won't be forever. We will document. These things are illegal that they're doing. You know that.
Thank you.
It's against our Constitution.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and staff. My name is Becky Fink. I'm revisiting the council tonight. May I approach the dais with something, please?
Sure.
May I approach? For those of you, we had an amazing vigil. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We had an amazing vigil in the room next door that you weren't able to attend because you were doing the people's business. These are the people. These are the real life people, including your constituents. One for that. This is what we were doing in the next room. Thank you for allowing me that. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I had a whole bunch of different things that I thought of to say tonight, given the events since the last time we were here, the regrettable events since the last time we were here. But you know what? Today was the first day of session without Speaker Hortman. If you didn't watch that today, please go home and feed your soul and see how a leader was honored today at the Minnesota State Capitol with her decency and her collaboration. So I tapped myself down a little bit tonight in her honor, and I can do better, and I'm going to continue to do better. I want you to do a few things, specific things. And this is a formal request, put it in the minutes. I want a response. I've spent, since we were together, most recently, I was on the League of Minnesota Cities website, spent a lot of time there trying to understand the roles, the lanes, the advice, the guidance that you have as council members from professionals, from a professional organization. You have tools. There's no way that I can understand that we are here today with all the tools that you have available to help you make a statement. I want you to know that the Cities for Safe and Stable Communities has now reached 19 or 20 communities that have come together, found common ground, and have made a common statement. I want to ask you something, and I want an answer. You obviously won't answer here. I want an answer. Have you discussed joining that coalition of other cities? Question one. The second is, if the answer is no, I want to know exactly why not. Why have you not reviewed this, workshopped this, taken a position on this? I want to know.
That's our 3 minutes here.
Soon. The other thing I just want to say is that there is there's also the League of Cities is asking you to participate in an assessment of the impact of all of these federal cuts. You're aware of that. I'm sure staff is aware of that. I want to know if it is your intention to fully cooperate with that assessment of the impact of these federal actions on our local city. The last thing that I want to say to you is this. Mr. Mayor, I know that you regret what you said. It's understandable. I would too. I've said things I regret. I understand that. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, where we're at today in this room, the only thing we have to be sure of our own protection is our whistle and our phone. Please, Mr. Mayor, don't ever talk to us or about us like that again. We are going to take for our own safety in our own hands until and unless the council. I'll be back in 2 weeks to ask what kind of efforts you have been successful at in terms of participating in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here anybody else here for open mic? Anybody else here for open mic? Are you here for open mic? Okay.
Susan Fanning, 10256 Quinn Street Northwest. I've been a resident of Coon Rapids since 2004. I read the comments by our mayor in the New York Times, and then I listened tonight to a lengthy discussion about 29 proposed new homes here and welcoming new people into this community. I don't believe that your comments really are going to play well with a large audience. This has received international attention, and it's not very friendly to people wanting to move to this community or to businesses that may want to be in Coon Rapids. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Cameron. I'll give my address to the clerk. I didn't plan on talking at all today because I'm very new to the community. I moved to Coon Rapids in October, actually. We moved from St. Cloud due to some homophobia and transphobia, and I was told that Coon Rapids was safe. And that's why we moved. And then, of course, all of this happened, and then I find out that my mayor doesn't really support us in saving our neighbors. There's so many in our community. It's a beautiful community. I drove around when we first moved, when we were looking at houses, and I said, wow, this is beautiful here. And I felt safe when I came, and then we were told, oh, just put your whistles away, stop being a part of the community, stop talking to your neighbors, it doesn't matter, and that just hurts. So I have some questions that were brought from a community group that I'm a part of that they just wanted answered. They can be answered at a later time, but we would like answers to these. So what is Coon Rapids doing as a city to help businesses and residents that are affected by ICE actions? What are each of them doing individually to help their residents? The average people are spending their spare time taking care of our neighbors. What are you guys doing?
And then, is flock data being shared with ICE? I know in some communities they are, some communities they aren't. That is just a question that a lot of us would have. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else for open mic? All right, close the open mic portion. We have a response to last week's open mic. On February 2nd, City Council meeting, 10 citizens spoke at open mic about their concerns with the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement activity in the city and the metro area. Several themes and questions regarding federal immigration enforcement were raised during the open mic portion of the last City Council meeting. Many speakers made appeals directly to the City Council or its members during open mic. While this staff response doesn't address some of those statements or requests, staff can provide additional information on the following. The role of the city's police department. This information was provided in the staff's response for the February 2nd meeting, which can be found on the city's website. Incidents with Anoka Hennepin School District students. Concerns were raised about reports of ICE stopping Anoka Hennepin School District buses and enforcement activities near schools. While there have been reports of such activities in other communities, staff is not aware of similar incidents occurring within Coon Rapids. The city works closely with the school district on student safety issues and has continued to do so in recent weeks. The school district has developed a website to answer immigration enforcement-related questions, and that's on their website. ICE contacts in Coon Rapids. City staff and the police department are not aware of every ICE activity that has occurred in the community over the past several weeks, as ICE doesn't inform the police department of their actions. Staff estimates there have been between 15 and 20 ICE enforcement activities that were verified through a call for service or were observed by a police officer. None of these incidents rose to a level that required any interaction by the police department with either a civilian or an ICE officer. On Thursday, February 12th, DHS announced the end of Operation Metro Surge and plans to remove the immigration agents tied to this operation from the Twin Cities area within the next week. This response is for informational purposes only, and no recommendation is being made at this time. All right, other business. Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Geisler.
So, like we've said before, thank you again for everyone for coming out. I always thank anyone who comes up to open mic. It is a very challenging thing to do, regardless of whether you're talking about assessments, federal actions, or frankly, your neighbor blowing leaves across the yard, or a drainage issue in your backyard. We know it's difficult, we know it's hard, and again, thank you for your courage to do that. I did want to make just one comment. It was great seeing Senator Hoffman walk up the stairs today and give his characteristic thumbs up and look like himself, frankly, as good as it could. But one of the things that troubles me is when we think back to those events, it was done by someone posing as law enforcement with a mask. And it's understandable why people are afraid when that literally happened in our backyard. And those are people with resources, right? So, I thank our PD for their abilities to share, here's what our uniforms look like, here's what our cruisers look like, here's what our resources look like, here's our numbers. Here, we won't cover our face when we're working with you, we wear our body cameras, we do all this. These are all the things that good law enforcement looks like, and that builds trust with the community. Because that's what we need, right? We give power to those in law enforcement, and they get trust back when we work it back and forth. And that's a very, very powerful thing when it works well. And when it doesn't work well, we are in a situation where we have a community who's frankly very upset, and understandably so. So I want to thank the CRPD for what they do in engaging with our community in a positive way and trying to ameliorate fears, as we heard tonight. But I do think that we need to be concerned about the fact that law enforcement needs to be bright and visible and clear, because they're supposed to be there to help. And when they're not, and when it's not clear who they are, and we can't individually identify them, that's a little scary, and I can understand that. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank folks for coming out to open mic, and like the similar with the last few meetings, I'm happy to stay after to talk to anybody. I know this was a bit longer of a meeting, so I appreciate folks taking their entire Tuesday night to be here, and I also just want to acknowledge that we as a council have gotten several additional either emails or phone calls over the last few weeks, and I appreciate hearing from everybody about that as well.
Thank you. Other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion by Carlson, second by Novak. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.